I'll do intros. Hi, this is James O'Keefe. I'm captain of the Massachusetts Pirate Party, and tonight at this segment of Pirate News, I'm joined by Steve and Malt. Introduce yourselves, guys.
Hi, I'm Steve.
I guess I'm Malt.
Hi, Malt. Pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Likewise, Steve.
So one of the news that we decided to start with is the Supreme Court did a smackdown to Oracle and decided that APIs are in fact fair use. And so Google doesn't have to go and give $1 bazillion to Oracle.
Larry.
Larry.
Damn it, Larry.
But so what, the important part of this is that it's not just Google who benefits from this, but any API that's defined is now fair use. And if Google defines a set of APIs, then someone else can re-engineer that and provide those APIs. Obviously, the code in the background and implementation would be different, but the actual APIs and how they're defined would be the same, which in terms of openness and increasing communication between applications is a good thing.
Oh yeah, one of the things that I have always appreciated with Sun Microsystems, the nice company that was unfortunately swallowed up by Oracle, is because they put a lot of effort into API design. Especially with the Java programming language. And I mean, the cool thing about it was that, you have a standard set of interfaces, and those interface specifications, you can use, and now anybody can just go write their own implementation of it. This is made for, like, in the programming world, this enables a huge amount of flexibility, and, overall, it's a good thing.
Amazingly enough, I was amazed that the ruling was 6-2, with, I think it was Thomas and Alito, voting against the majority.
I was going to ask who besides Thomas and who else voted against it.
Yeah, I think it was Alito. But I've included the link in our chat. So anyhow, but I mean, and the newest justice was not at the hearing, and so was not able to vote. But that's just 3-1 is an important an important vote for fair use. And
it only took how many years?
Sorry?
And it only took how many years?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the problem with the Supreme Court. One of the many. In fact, it's an undemocratic institution run by, a small number of graduates of a few elite colleges. But anyways. So next up on the topic, Steve, how come the internet didn't die?
Well, the internet did. Yeah. So the news this week is that the internet didn't die. I mean, the efforts of a fellow named Seth Aaron Pendley notwithstanding. This is a good story. I think the only thing that would make it better is if Mr. Pendley happened to be from Florida, but it turns out that he's not. But so this is a fellow who his desire was to take out the oligarchy, and to take out the oligarchy, he wanted to take down the internet, and he came to the conclusion. I don't know how he came to this conclusion, but he came to the conclusion that blowing up one of Amazon's data centers would probably take down 70% of the internet. So basically some of the stuff he posted on social media was passed along to the FBI as tips, and the FBI basically had a couple of agents interact with him, and he believed he was purchasing C4, the explosive. But he bought it from an FBI agent, so it was just like dummy C4, and so now he's been arrested, and I guess the charges could put him in jail for up to 20 years. Specifically, he was planning to blow up a data center in, I think, Ashburn, Virginia. But so there's, one of the things is that there's, there apparently are some crazy people out here. Some crazy people who don't necessarily know how the internet actually works. I mean, blowing up one of Amazon's data centers would probably, it would probably not make any appreciable difference in their operating. And it's very unlikely to take down the entire internet. And number 3 is never reach for C4 when BGP will do just fine. BGP stands for Border Gateway Protocol, and it's how packets and routing tables are exchanged among routers. Now, BGP as a protocol was developed with a fundamental notion of trust. So only the people who were manipulating, putting routing rules in the core routers of the internet, they probably know what they're doing. Well, as it turns out, you can really mess things up with a bad BGP update. And they've also been used by governments to just kind of get traffic to get routed through their country for a little while so they could capture it. So,
yeah, I think China and Russia and
Russia's has done this on numerous occasions, if I recall correctly.
I definitely assumed it was some kind of explosive compound, and I was afraid to ask.
Not that I would advocate it, but my thought would be if you wanted to take out some portion of the internet, the submarine cables would be the thing to look for. Not that I'm advocating for that. I'm just,
Guys, there are easier ways to get more viewers than to entice the FBI to monitor us. It's just at first
I was kind of thinking, was this an entrapment thing, or the FBI is known for that?
Well, it's I don't know. Apparently, the guy was looking to do some damage to the internet, and the FBI and someone from the FBI said, I can help with that. What's kind of scary is if you guys remember some of the research work done on, forget the vendor name, but some of the X-ray scanners used at airports, and what they were able to detect.
The nudie scanners, or just
the nudie scanners. Yeah. So one of the proofs of concept for foiling a nudie scanner involved, fake C4. So apparently there is a C4-like substance that you can buy. I don't know why someone would make C4, but if you mold this against your stomach, say, you could actually carry a lot of, they did it to demonstrate that you can carry a lot of explosive through an airport and the scanner would not pick it up. The one thing that they noticed was that, if you did this, it meant the person didn't have a belly button. And that was a little weird looking, right? So the solution to that was, well, hey, we needed some place to put the detonator.
Yeah, I remember a video in a news segment from Germany of a guy who was like, here's how you get through. It was like a major news show of here's how you get through the scanner, and all the different ways that he was able to hide stuff and get through the scanner.
Rapiscan. That's the vendor I was thinking of. But apparently somehow other countries got pressured into buying and installing these things, and then decided, yeah, these are crap. We're going to get rid of them and put them on eBay. So if you're in Germany, you could buy a rapid scanner from or at least at one point in time, you could buy the stuff on eBay and just, take it home and mess with it. Apparently that made the folks at Rapiscan kind of pissed off, but hey,
It's your property.
it's your property.
Wow.
So Max from New Hampshire notes that the ballot access bill that he had suggested for New Hampshire got an inexpedient to legislate and the legislature never got before the legislature, but they're going to reintroduce the bill next year. So thanks for telling us that, Max.
Mm-hmm.
Best of luck, bud.
So we last week we talked about some how chatty apps on smartphones are, and someone asked, how can I protect myself? What are your thoughts, guys?
So the ultimate problem, the ultimate exchange on your phone is convenience for
Data.
yeah, like the apps, the one-click sign-on, thumbprint scan, face scan, all of that technology, everything that the phone does to make it easier to use has been turned into a vector for stealing your data.
Well, it's not just the technology of the phone itself. A lot of it has to do with the apps. Like if you have a flashlight app that needs access to your texts, browsing history and contacts, well, you should say no. But you think about it, the person who writes the app, they can ask for it. I mean, the whole purpose of the internet is to reduce the amount of friction between the suckers that are born every minute and those that would like to find them.
Oh God, that's exactly it.
Jeez, that sounds like QAnon, man.
I was going to say it sounds like Patreon. Anyway,
I don't know. I don't disagree with you on that.
So basically, you need. Oh God, my phone is greasy. That's disgusting.
Mhm.
You need to turn this thing off. The problem is turning it off doesn't always turn it off. A lot of if you look at the terminology. A lot of computerized devices, especially IoT things, will not say off. They'll say in standby or waiting. Sleep is a big one. That has specific connotations, and the connotations are it's still on and it's still processing and slurping up data. So once you turn it off, you also have to put it into a Faraday cage, which
bag.
is
Bag.
You're
Bag.
afraid.
Well, I mean, you could put it into a Faraday cage. The bags are a lot more convenient to carry around because they're bags.
Doesn't everybody walk around with a ring of tiny cages hanging off their belts on chains? Isn't that the fashion that Bloodborne promised us?
Only at Comic-Con, man. But at Comic-Con
during lockdown, baby, every day is Comic-Con.
So yeah, I mean,
sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say I happen to have been lucky in that the phones that I've had, which are all flip phones, by the way, are because I don't need a constant distraction that I carry around in my pocket. But I mean, the times I've had to use smartphones, they give them to me for work or whatever, they actually have a power off feature that, it says it's powering the phone off. And then if you turn the phone back on, it takes 40 seconds to reboot. So I'm going to assume it's actually off. But yeah, turn the phone off when you're not using it. You can, look on the, you can search the fine web for Faraday bags. One of the niche markets for these is law enforcement. So if the cops take your phone and don't want it being wiped remotely, they put it in a Faraday bag. Well, you could buy that stuff through a mail order. They cost like $30 a piece. And they're actually nice little carrying cases. But yeah, and then don't install apps that you don't need.
like if you can use the web version on your phone, do that. But if you're using a browser, don't use Chrome. Chrome, just as part of Google's push to eliminate third-party tracking cookies, Google has unleashed this new system of surveillance called Flock, which stands for, and this is a
Is there a
phrase,
new hairstyle with that, like flock of seagulls?
flock of assholes. No,
Fucking lot of crap. Okay.
yeah, FLOC, Federated Learning of Cohorts, or fucking load of crap. So basically, how this works is it's the exact same system that Netflix uses to make your movie recommendations. It basically just invents a bunch of stereotypes about people based on their consumption habits, and says like, "Oh, you're an old dude that likes kung fu. You're a young lady that likes musicals and like historical costume epics and like boning." And that's your cohort. And your cohort has a specific unique ID, and that's the ID that follows you around the internet. So your ID might be like libertarian dog owner, or like rockabilly geologist. And so you get rockabilly geology ads. Google
Well,
says, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I'm when you're done, I want to throw some math at you and just you just finish up and let me know when I could cut in.
So like the claim is that this is less invasive because it's not your unique browsing history following you everywhere you go. But the EFF, Electronic Frontier Foundation, complains that it basically retraces your history each week to regroup you in your cohort. So it's like the fingerprinting just compiles more information on you, and there's no way to opt out, and it's not clear if you are involved. And this is happening in Chrome with no warning. Like there's no message telling you this has happened. There is one way to shut it down, and that is the DuckDuckGo Chrome browser disables the flock tracking technique. So if for whatever reason you're stuck using Chrome, and you can get that extension, do so.
Do you know if Chromium? I'm hoping that Chromium doesn't do this nonsense.
I haven't found out if it's on Chromium or just Chrome.
Okay. So that math I was talking about. So if you think of if one of the ways that you can do categorizations of folks is what they call a Boolean matrix. So you could think of, each column is an attribute and each row is a person, and you put a 1 there if the person's got the attribute and a 0 if they don't. So like you were saying, I don't know, it was rockabilly chef or something like that, right? So you have an attribute called likes to cook. You have an attribute called likes rockabilly. You have an attribute called likes gardening. So if you have 32 of those attributes, you have 4 billion different combinations, which means even if you may not be, what is how small are the cohorts? So
I checked it out. The claim is that each cohort could contain up to a few thousand unique individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's not that I feel like on the internet, if you isolate any undifferentiated population down to just a few thousand users, that is pretty specific.
That is pretty specific, and it also means that if you are so for example, maybe your cohorts were likes pickup trucks, likes country music, drinks beer, right? If you fall into a popular cohort, then you might have a little more anonymity. But if you're in the likes Frank Zappa, rides bicycle,
Polyamorous, that's probably a much smaller segment.
Yeah. And if you have unusual characteristics, then you're probably going to be part of a smaller cohort, and then it's a little easier to identify.
So, to follow up on your question about Chromium, I
Mhm.
did some Googling and it does look like this is part of Chromium. They're calling it the part of their privacy sandbox.
Ah,
Yeah, it's available as an origin trial in Chrome.
yeah. So, but I mean, basically, it's the same thing. It's another way to identify people to try to sell them shit.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It would be far better for the for the targeted ad industry to just establish a standard set of categories, and then, hey, let me check off the ones I want. You could put it in an X header, and then just that's what you show me, and then you don't have to worry about who the hell I am.
Oh, you can manage your ad preferences.
Mhm.
Like that's something that AdSense lets you
Mhm.
do, like via every ad. There's a little box you can click.
I'm a little more hardcore. I tend to use Firefox mainly because of an extension called NoScript, which basically allows you to turn JavaScript off and then just selectively allow it, basically on a certain page, or allow JavaScript from certain websites. And I kind of lock that down pretty well, which means that between that and by disallowing third-party JavaScript and blocking third-party cookies, there is, I think it's a little better. Speaking of which, I wonder how. So is because this was a replacement for third-party cookies? Is this Google trying to one up Apple for because of Apple making disabling third-party cookies in Safari by default?
It's gotta be like there's no innovation. It's just like rip off and counter rip off.
Yeah, it's corporate. It's a corporate pissing contest. I think might be the term.
I'd even go so far as to say it's a way to replace an open source technology tracking cookies with something proprietary that Google owns specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So in short, dear viewers, flock bad.
Jamie, you are muted.
Or flock off.
Yeah. No, it's a flock up.
So other news, Facebook's 500 million vulnerability. They've gone and decided to blame everyone but themselves because, if you didn't go and set your settings right such that they could be pulled in by any Tom, Dick, or Harry, then that's your fault, apparently, seems to be Facebook's thing. Amusingly enough, I saw one person who said, I deleted my account and in 2015, and I was still in the data dump, which, I don't think Facebook really deletes anything.
Well, Max Schrems, so this is the dude that was suing Facebook in the European courts because he had deleted, basically requested a copy of all of the stuff that he had posted, and they gave him back all kinds of stuff that he deleted, and he sued them, and I'm kind of curious how that ever turned out, but I could totally believe that. If deleting things is hard, seems to be really difficult for large web companies.
Yeah, it's like it's just, it comes back to the problem of like these sites acting only to aggregate data. And like we talk about privacy, but really the problem is that it's capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
Like this data is valuable and it's going to, like, the people with power are going to exploit it to make money. So
Max adds, what can the state or what can states do to prevent this?
Geofencing. Make things incredibly inconvenient via regulatory burdens and hurdles.
Well, California passed some sort of Consumer Privacy Protection Act Either of you know the details of it?
I've heard it hasn't gone far enough.
Mm-hmm.
I know about the California Pizza Kitchen.
Oh no! Well, no. With California, my understanding was the state laws were passed in order to sort of beat a voter referendum to the punch. Because if a voter referendum becomes law in California, the only way that law can be undone is by voter referendum. And I gather that concept made some folks nervous.
I mean, one of the things that I've noticed is, I mean, everywhere because of, I think, GDPR, every site I go to has especially European sites, you need to approve the cookies that we can put on your system, right? And the thing that I've noticed is if I go to that site on day one, and then I go to the site on day one an hour later, I get the same damn thing. So I feel like they just keep putting it up, even though I'm like, okay, yes, the important ones that you need for your own individual data analysis, who's coming to your site or to log into your site, sure, I get that. But the random tracking company, I don't see any reason why they need to have my data. But yet it always seems like they keep putting this opt-in dialogue, and since I'm seeing it all the time, I'm diligent and I'll go through it and be like, yep, okay, click it again. But I'm sure other people just, it's just too frustrating, and the benefits don't seem intangible. So I have a feeling it's the same thing, that if we force them to ask, then people will just end up clicking yes anyways, just to kind of get this thing out of the way.
Yeah, it's just it becoming more and more inconvenient to use the internet. And this is basically the fault of ad tech. Like, the way people look at websites has changed. Like, it used to be when people you can go look at heat maps of eye contact on websites for like length of time of contact. Early on, people would like read the head of a website. Now people are basically just like skimming the left hand side of every website, because everything beyond that is ad.
Right.
So you get like giant ad at the top, and then 3 paragraphs, and then an ad in the middle, and then the thing popping up from the bottom, and then some bullshit on the side. Like, woo!
No script, man.
Brave. Use the Brave browser. That too.
Like, I don't need to be spending more time on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
I miss you guys, though. It's nice to see your face.
So Max points out that the New Hampshire HB 499 would require that the New Hampshire, that police in New Hampshire have to get a warrant to access facial recognition technology, which is certainly a step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Just plain banning it would be a better choice, as far as I'm concerned. Although sorry, go on.
Well, I was going to say, I would think a facial recognition ban would be really easy to sell in a state as libertarian as New Hampshire. Like, especially libertarian and tech phobic. No offense.
No, well, I'd actually prefer the warrant requirement. My concern is that if you were to ban it completely, private industry is going to do it. And then, it's just, for years, AT&T, CDR dumps were a moneymaker for AT&T. I'm sure that some company that collects camera images and, can run them through through a facial recognition classifier would be, it's a racket. That's what it amounts to.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, certainly the outsourcing to private industry is a way to get around that. And I think even there was a recent report that found that what's it, Clearview AI is
Mhm.
used by a lot of police departments, even though, you know, some of them are banned from using it.
Mhm.
They still use it.
Well, once the stuff gets cheap, just think of just think of what you could do with putting if like Google Glass ever came back with with facial recognition, you could say Nazi, Nazi, rapist, Nazi. You don't have to
You can
discriminate against the
subscribe
people,
to
just
your
don't
own
talk to them.
list of people.
Yeah.
I swear the army has that already. Like, and it's specifically for like terrorist watch list.
I have. I could. Well, with something like VR glass, like a VR system, I could see that.
So I guess we're pretty much at an end. We didn't cover all the stuff that we wanted to cover, but I guess we'll pick those up next week. Um, Thanks to the two of you for joining me in this. Thanks to the folks who are watching us live stream it or are picking it up later. Please check us out at masspirates.org, and an event we are going to have, and we'll have a sign up pretty soon, is on Saturday, October 24th from 4 to 6 p.m. We're going to have a new member organizing discussion, a pirate moot, as Malt says. And so we encourage folks to come sign up. You'll get a link, join us, help us build the pirate party. And of course, you know, like this video, subscribe to our channel, click that bell. All those things help to get more people hearing what we have to say and finding out about the pirate party in Massachusetts, in the United States, and throughout the world. So if you appreciate us, please do, give us a like and all that. Thank you very much, and thank you, gentlemen, for your commentary. Always, always illuminating and very funny.
Malt, it was great talking to you tonight.
You too, Steve.
Bye. All right, we're